You're muted.
There we go. Yeah, I was just looping that video in the background until we're a little bit closer. We got a couple minutes. How you doing, man?
Good. Yourself?
Good. You look like you're not well rested today. Working hard.
Yeah. I've been in the office all day. I got so busy doing stuff. I didn't have time to go shave and do all the normal stuff that I normally would do today. So
we've all been that busy. We have all been that busy. All right, one more minute. Hey, Abby, good to see you. There. I'll just keep that running for another minute or so. Oh, there's Mr. Spears. Oh, I forgot to hit loop. I'm going to loop this video. Loop. All right, one more minute and we'll do a countdown. Oh, and now he's gone. Where did Spears go? What? Oh, I guess I could. Let's do this. Let's present, share, window. There. Let's share that in the meantime. There we go. That'll work. All right, Joe, are you ready? Are you ready for this? No. Yes. Oh, there he is.
I don't know. Maybe
sometimes. Just in time. Here we go. What is happening? Restoration Rebels, why is my phone making a weird sound? That's not... No, stop.
It's not the secret knock.
Yeah. Dang it. All right. Woof. That's just rude. Well, okay, how do I stop sharing? Because I'm not ready to share now. Wait a minute. Stop screen. There we go. What's up, party people? Okay, hey, this is Restoration Rebels for Restoration Roundtable for the 28th of February, 2024. We get an extra day in February. That's tomorrow, and then we get my favorite day of the whole year, which is my birthday on Friday. So we got Andy McCabe here, Joe Spears, Robert Larson, Abolitious. What's up, Abby? How you been?
I've been good. How are you?
I got you in the room. All I gotta do is send you an invite and you show up. I didn't know. No idea.
It's been a rough couple of weeks.
I'm sorry to hear that. Well, let's see what we can do about that.
Okay, Abby, it's been a rough 40 years for me.
Yeah, I'm starting to pick up on that too.
It's been a rough 40 years.
You don't get all this gray without the stress of life.
Hey, I got like the Corella DeVille streak going on over here, so I'm feeling it too.
Yeah, I got that in my beard. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's so weird. All right,
Robert keeps his hair in his beard short, so no one sees the gray.
Let's do the thing. All right. Rebel agreements. Agreement number 1, I will protect the value of my services. Offering free services only serves to erode the value of similar services industry-wide. Agreement number 2, I will practice incredible transparency. I will explain the claim process to my client. I will not hide pricing details or falsify reports. I will never communicate with an investor without also communicating with my client. Agreement number 3, I do not believe in competition. The restoration companies in my market are part of my community. I will be an active member of my community. It is our unbreakable unity that will create the change that we strive for. In agreement number 4, I'm willing to walk away from any project, client, or contract that is not compatible with my values and stated mission. No relationship is worth losing money, sleep, or my humanity. Hey, son, you close the door behind you?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Well, we're here. I've been listening to a podcast, a couple different podcasts. One's the Founders podcast, and the other one is Invest Like the Best. They're built both out of the same publishing house. And Founders is it talks about famous, not famous, but these like highly successful people like Bill Gates, the Rockefellers, just people that have made a lot of money and been incredibly successful in the world. And one of the episodes, I don't even remember which one it was. This theme kept coming up in a couple different episodes, and the guy says, "Bad boys move in silence," and it's a play on Sun Tzu's Art of War, where he says all war is deception. And it occurred to me that we are. I mean, this didn't occur to me. We are at war, right? This is insurance claims are just freaking war. It didn't used to be this way, but it is now. But we are, by virtue of this group, we are kind of showing our cards, right? We're on a public forum talking about all these things and what we're going to do. And it occurred to me that maybe we shouldn't be so vocal about what we're doing. Maybe we should keep some things closer to our vest. And when we want to talk about certain things, maybe we should do it not on a public forum. Maybe we should find a different place to do that. I'm going to suggest a Discord. I'm going to suggest Discord because we can really control who is in a Discord channel and really tamp it down. So I'm going to I'm playing with this idea of kind of an inner circle for the Rebels. And this is great. The Roundtable is great. It's good to get together and talk about certain things. But when it comes down to being a tactician, putting our pieces out on the chessboard, I don't think we should talk about where our pieces are going in a public forum like a Facebook group. So I'm gonna leave that there. What do you guys think? You guys here, if you're watching and you care to watch, people watching, what do you think about the concept of bad boys move in silence, and what we do traditionally in the Rebel page on Facebook? Does it give you pause? Are you concerned about it all, or am I just being paranoid?
No.
Possible.
I think you have a point. I think just I don't know how long I've been a Rebel member. I'm probably close to a year, if not a little over, but I have noticed there's a lot more people coming into the group, which isn't a bad thing, but we don't always know who those people are. And with
right now,
right.
Live stream that you're doing on StreamYard, it's kind of it's formed a bunch of it's across a bunch of different platforms, and we don't know who's watching and who's paying attention, and I think it is good for us all to get together and compare ideas and things like that, because I think that's how you move forward. But like you said, you don't go to war with telling somebody what all of your actions are.
Exactly.
And so I think there is some discretion that needs to be used in that.
That's a good word.
And I think that with the way that the insurance companies are evolving and what's taking place, just with what I've seen within the past 3-4 weeks, is alarming, and it makes you really wonder if they are starting to pick up on a lot of what's being thrown out there.
I believe they are. I can't think of any specific thing right now, but I know for a fact there are things that have been discussed in this group over the past couple of years that show up on a different platform, or like LinkedIn, or get brought up in conversations outside by folks like adjusters. There are things, I just can't think of any specific ones, but I'm like, oh shit, we started that, and maybe we should have kept that a little closer to our vest. Maybe we should have had, I like that word, discretion. So I'm going to invite everyone that's going to RIA. We're going to have the first night, Monday night, RIA. We're going to have a Rebel get together, and we're going to talk in hushed tones for a little bit of that meeting about some, I think, really important stuff that I'm not going to talk about anywhere else. And I think that type of forum needs to exist somewhere. I've got a Restoration Rebel Discord channel. So let me leave this out here. If you are listening and you want to be a part of that inner circle conversation, DM me, and I will vet you, and then I will send you a link to the Discord channel. Because things are getting really hard. Abby, tell me, you just said something like, especially over the last couple of weeks. What are you seeing? What's going on right now with the carriers?
So, what I've seen is, and I'm not going to name any names, but I have a select few that we've never really had any issues out of, right? Like I typically don't, and it's not even a matter of having a relationship with an adjuster, because for the past year and a half, I don't feel that there's value in that anymore.
I agree.
And so it's just it's getting sent off to the carrier. And what I've seen the most is they are taking what we send them, rewriting it for their own good, what they want to pay, and then submitting that for payment without even letting us know that there's any issues that they've had with our invoicing. And that is becoming 100% common all the way across the board. Number one, I think it should be illegal. That's just my opinion.
I agree.
But, I've had probably 10 claims where this has become the normal practice. And so then I have worked so hard over the past year with, onboarding and doing this and doing that, everything that we've talked about, and they are completely abolishing all of those efforts by doing what they're doing. And so it completely takes you almost out of the picture. So trying to combat that, and then having to go back behind everything,
right?
You're not in front of it anymore,
right? You're playing catch up, or you're reacting instead of being proactive.
How do you get in front of somebody who completely shuts you out? And I understand,
and lies and mischaracterizes like drastically. So I've had the very similar situations over the last couple months. I've seen where you do the usual thing, right? You submit the estimates, you're doing everything as normal, and then you get this email out of the blue from the adjuster that probably doesn't CC you. Sometimes they do, but they'll just communicate direct to the insured and say, we have been unable to unable to reach the contractor, or we've been unable to affect
undisputed amount.
Right, or we're sending the undisputed amount, but we've I've had one where they said we tried to negotiate with your contractor, but they were unwilling, and the contractor was like, I never heard from this person, not once. But it's so they're trying to flip that script where they don't want to negotiate with us because they know. Go ahead.
Had one success out of the past 10, where I, talked to the homeowner and I'm like, look, they're leaving you, they're sticking you with this balance. I don't know why, because they didn't contact me.
They didn't talk to me about it.
Suggest that you call them and either one, tell them that they need to pay, or two, ask them to send me something that states why they weren't paying what they were saying they were going to pay. So, and then I followed that up with an email from myself saying,
Mm.
we never got anything from you. However, you're leaving this customer with this balance. Is there some issue with our invoice that maybe I can help clear up? So they did send me an email, and I lit their butts on fire. I'm like, this is what happened. This adjuster rewrote our invoice, sent it to the insurance company for payment, stating that it was undisputed when in fact it wasn't. We weren't given a chance. I mean, I just laid it all out there. And the adjuster freaked out and paid the remaining balance in full. But you're not always going to get the adjusters that are willing to send you that. And so it's hard to retroactively battle something that you're not even involved in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I think they are. The insurance is working very, very hard to, for lack of a better phrase, outsource as many different parts of the process as they can to so many different entities that, you know, one hand never knows what the other's doing,
Well,
and they
it's
have
called
plausible
plausible deniability.
deniability. And you know, it's in their best interest, because just like with any other insurance, you know, health insurance or whatever, the more confusing it is, the more you're just going to throw your hands up and say, screw it, like just whatever. And it is a problem, you know, and I think, you know, while using a forum like this here to, you know, publicly talk and discuss things is one thing, where, you know, we're not talking in official capacities overall. We're just kind of, you know, shooting the shit, so to speak, and just, you know, talking about our opinions is one thing. But, you know, publications, paperwork, you know, term papers, things like that there that we recommend, I think that should be a more controlled entity to be used, because once somebody you know, if it's one thing when it's hearsay, when it's, well, I heard from so and so that, you know, this is that's one thing. But when I got a piece of this paper here and I'm using it from, you know, Andy or whatever, that puts you in the crosshairs or me in the crosshairs. And, you know, there's such thing as professional liability, where, you know, just like how if you directly refer like an abatement company and they contaminate the whole house, you gave that professional recommendation, you can be held liable just as much as the contractor, even though you didn't have anything to do with it.
You know, legally, you're probably not going to be held liable, but you still got, you know, the poop water got splashed on you, right? I mean, you got the stink on you just because of, you know, you were there, you were involved.
Guilty by association.
Exactly.
Yes, and like, getting back to your thing about the Discord and everything else, like you know, on these, I think these are very helpful, especially for newer people in the industry.
Oh,
on the Facebook, I think you guys do a good job at kind of weeding out, you know, some of the people. You know, obviously, some people do sneak through the things at least in the Facebook group.
They really.
But on the Discord, you could have a little bit more control, and you know, you could have stipulations like, you know, send me the contractor you work for or the business or whatever the stipulations to join, and then you could have some more thing. But in general, for me at least, like Discord, it's a little bit easier to sort through and find things versus Facebook. So it's like trying to go back, trying to find a post on Facebook. Sometimes it's like, you know, 20 pages down the list. I was like, I just saw it yesterday. I
just saw it.
And then you go to the download section, trying to search for things, and you know, some things you saw the other day, and like, I can't find it now. And I knew it was there. I think Discord would be a little bit more organized and sense of you know, things. But yeah, but getting back to like what Joseph said, you know, like, yeah, I mean, you know, all these YouTube channels, everything else, are the things that are, oh, I'm not a financial advisor. I am not a public adjuster.
This is not financial advice. This is not legal advice.
Bill, this is not contractual advice or professional.
Yeah, and the other part of it too is, you know, we post these things to help people or provide different avenues of ways to go around things, but we don't know what they're doing with that information. Are they copying it verbatim? Are they changing it to, I mean, I change things to make it fit what I need it for. Same thing like with the ChatGPT thing. I'm not just going to copy and paste the whole thing and then send it off. Like, I'm going to change it out. There's some people out there that don't do that. They're just expecting it to be something that they can automatically use. And then that, you know, in turn can reflect either badly on you or get you involved in a situation that, I got it from this person. And it's just a matter of, we don't know what's happening with the information that we're putting out there. And I think it is wise to be cautious about what's going on.
Yeah.
Especially in today's world where AI is involved and all that stuff is going on. I mean, it's hard to even know.
Everything that we say online is out there forever, permanent.
Yep.
But I mean, even less than that, it's I don't want to compromise the effectiveness of whatever tactic that I'm choosing to do for my business because I'm telling everyone about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That was one of the things that kept getting brought up in these podcasts is a lot of these guys, they were not on anyone's radar. They were being successful. They found a rhythm, they found a secret sauce, and they did it and they did it and did it, and they didn't tell anybody about it. And so it's bad boys move in silence. We need to be silent little ninjas, and we do need to help each other, and short of collusion, right? We're not advocating that people try to build these monopolies or anything like that, but if we find out, if we figure out something that's working, I don't think we should necessarily tell anyone else that it's working. It feels selfish to say that.
Well, and I think it feels that way because we do advocate practicing transparency.
Yep.
And it also sucks because even though we are effectively we are competition because we all run the same kind of business, we all still treat each other as a family in a sense of if I help you out in my marketplace to be better, then that's going to make it easier for me to be better because it's more consistent. One of the worst and most annoying things I've ever heard an adjuster say is not that they disagree with what I did or that it's against the IICRC standard or anything. It's, well, that's not commonplace for work being done in your area. Like,
you're the only one.
I can't stand that. Well, that's just not common. I don't care if it's common. Is it by the book? Yep. Then that's all that matters. And I can't control that other people don't do things the correct way or 100% the right way, but that I'm not getting punished for it. And, it's one of those things also where just like how there's a lot of people out there that'll take the S500 and run with it the way they want, people will interpret or they will read it how they feel it should have been read. And I mean, and sometimes they will not realize that they are still incorrect. I mean, I know there's still people out there that want to classify water on, well, if I put it in a glass, would you drink it or not? And that's
not a scientific measurement.
And I mean, it sucks because you write a file that goes to the insurance. Well, the insurance gets in, and then they immediately ship it off to another person. And now I got, a TPA office calling me, but I'm not a TPA agent, but I'm being held to their standards. And they don't care that I'm going to tell them to kick rocks. And then, well, the undisputed amount is this here. And the insurance says, well, that's all I should have to pay then. And they treat effectively, the only thing that you get out of being a TPA nowadays is the free marketing where they send you the work in. Otherwise, like 90% of the time, it feels like there's no point in being on it because you're still going to have to deal with their rules no matter what.
Yep. Yeah, you do. So who said that to you today, Rob?
Yeah, I had an adjuster call. It was a Category 2 water event. And, I just got done with my ASD class and, learned some new stuff. I had Mitch Byram as a teacher.
Oh, nice.
And just going over some things, and he kind of went over like the categories of water. Which I thought was great. He's like 20% of your jobs are Category 1, 80% are Category 2, and 20% are Cat 3. That's about roughly here it is. And in the class, we did a Cat 1 cleanup, and the challenges of trying to dry that out without removing any material. And it was kind of interesting because here in Hawaii, it's so hot and humid. Most of the time, pass it to the stud wall, and now it's Cat 2. You're just cutting and trying to draw a pad in place, and that was interesting. A lot of time.
Was that class in Hawaii?
No, I went to Anaheim.
Okay.
Came to the mainland.
Yep, had to go.
You know,
That was like 2
Here's
classes.
the most
in
frustrating thing about one of the most frustrating things that I feel like is that, we are all trying to follow this standard of care that is very, very specific in so many aspects. Like the book's 100, a couple hundred pages long of, follow this standard of care. But the very first freaking step of the standard is ambiguous. Like, what is considered, you go from category 1, it's a sanitary source, to category 2, which is it's got significant contamination, to being grossly contaminated. But yet nobody is willing to identify or comment
What that
on
means. Yeah.
what is considered, how much contamination makes it identify as significant, or makes it identify as, grossly contaminated. What is that threshold? Like, with mold, we have standards. You have, most people do, better than outside air. I do no more than 300 aspergillus with a 0 count for stachybotrys. People have these hardline sets, but the governing agency that controls the very first step of how should we handle this job doesn't want to actually
There's no
tell
real
you.
guidance.
Yeah, and it's
And
frustrating.
it not only says, what could be included in those categories, but also to think about not only where it originated, but what it travels through. And then it also states that a professional company should be the ones to determine the category of water. Well, what exactly is considered a professional company? I consider myself a professional restoration company that should be able to determine the category of water. But an insurance company would say, oh no, it has to be tested. Tested by who?
Right.
There's so many different variables in all of that there's specifics of different things in the IICRC that are perfect. They're good. They're really, really good for doing what we need to do. But then there's so much of it that's left to the discretion because there's too many variables to place it all out.
I look at it in a two-part situation. The first part of the situation that I feel like is a disservice to the industry overall is that insurance companies want to classify the entire submitted loss based on the source and not based on the loss condition. I 100% all day long will agree. Yes, there is such thing as a category 1 source. But a category 1 source does not always mean that the loss can be tried as a category 1 loss. People have pets, Danders. They have kids. They have cleaning chemicals.
What I started recommending on certain scenarios is don't call it anything but Cat 1. Don't go for the Cat 3 charges, because what's my question is, what's the upside, right? If we put it category 3, we know we're going to fight about it. How much more money is there in Cat 3 versus Cat 1 water damage?
30 to 40%.
How much?
30 to 40%.
Is it that much? Is it really that much?
I think it is.
Well, I would want.
There's a difference between arguing. I don't argue between category 1 and 2, especially from an Xactimate standpoint. The only difference between a category 1 and category 2 is the extraction line item there's an extraction grade water as opposed to, and that's it. Yeah. But all the other demo is either wet or it's category 3. So I don't worry about defining category 1 or 2 at this point. But the second part of what I tell everybody is, just like with lead and asbestos, as a professional contractor, if the house is the right age, I can operate my job without testing under the assumption that it is hot for lead or asbestos, and it's not my job.
Precautions.
It's not my job to prove it's hot or not. It's my job to operate in the best safety
protect
way.
The homeowner and your crews.
And the OSHA and EPA even says, I have an email somewhere where it even says, it is up to the homeowner or the carrier or whatever. If they want to disagree with you, it's their job to have it tested to prove that it is not hot. I don't have to prove it is hot. Someone else has to prove it's not hot for it to test not positive. And that
Yeah, but
mentality,
how do you cut drywall into that scenario? What would you do? If you're assuming the drywall is hot, how would you
well,
go
I mean,
approach your demo?
since I didn't ever work for an abatement company, I mean, if I was gonna operate like it's hot, I'm gonna set containment. I'm gonna force dry down with dehumidifiers and air scrubbers only, and I'm gonna call an abatement company out there and say, hey, like we're operating under this is hot, and here's what all needs to be taken out, and you need to come out here and I'm going to control the environment, and you need to come out here and put together a bid to do all the work. And if the insurance company isn't wanting that done, then they're going to have to send a IEP out here to test it
Yeah.
and validate that it's not hot. And
Right. They're gonna have to prove me wrong.
actually, you know what? I think I have that email right here.
Yeah.
Let me see. Where's
I'm
that?
gonna openly disagree with Third Eye Jedi.
Yeah, kidding.
Mm.
I when we come across something that's with asbestos, we completely pause our job.
Sure.
You know, we stabilize the environment, have what we can on site, contain what we can, tape anything off that, you know, but we tell them, hey, we this is going to be the way it is until we get an abatement company out here to test this, and then also if it needs to be removed, remove it. That's just our protocol.
And here's the email. So this was from the EPA because of the little glass lead vials not being made anymore by 3M. They said testing for lead-based paint prior to renovations in a home in child-occupied facilities before 78 is not required. Firms can assume lead-based paint is present and follow the requirement of the rule. However, a client may wish to have testing performed, and if the results indicate that no lead-based paint would be disturbed, the project would be exempt from the EPA renovation regulations. In such case, the firm would be required to keep records for 3 years. So,
and it's all about containment and PPE, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And from the EPA's point of view, it's hot unless you prove it's not. End of story.
Well, the EPA does state for any building renovation from 1978, you know, you have to be an RRP contractor, right? And at which point you just, you know, PPE, plastic, you know, negative air, and treat it like that and move forward. Yeah. So.
And I mean, and that's the thing is, guys, like, I mean, if you're going to operate a job, you know, I mean, you know, it's just like everybody always, I tell people all the time, don't let a homeowner say, you know, it's like saying, you know, oh, I need a Kleenex. No, you need a tissue paper. Kleenex is a name brand. People instinctively say, oh, hey, I had a claim. My sewer backed up into my house. And the second they say that, they've just shot themselves in the foot.
They just denied their own claim.
They got their, you know, because you didn't have the sewer line itself did not
back up. You got a clog, and your poop ended up on your carpet,
and it overflowed into your house. And you know, it's that kind of mentality that the insurance companies, you know,
feed off of.
You know, they work off of, because it's in their interest to.
Oh yeah, they key right into it. Yeah. Arizona tests for every claim for asbestos. Yeah, Washington State as well. State.
Belfour. I'll tell everybody right now. When I worked at Belfour's standing rule was it didn't matter the age of the property. If you're taking drywall out and all, you should be testing it for asbestos.
I had a property back in 2016 test hot. It was the mud.
You know, and it
was built in 2016.
You know, when I came in the industry 20 years ago, you know, it was the rule of thumb was, well, if it's wet, then the water molecules are going to weigh down the friable material, so it won't become aerosolized. So so for emergency response services, you don't have to test it. Once it dries, and you got to do more work, you got to test it. And you know how much drywall?
Spoken by a guy that wants to go out of business, wants to be sued out of existence.
I cut in the first 10 years of my career without testing it. Like when testing started becoming a big thing for people, I was one of those people that I was like, this is a crap. That's not going to get paid for. Not going to happen. And now, you know, after the time, I'm like, oh, okay, it does make sense. But it's one of those situations where, you know, there's still a lot of cowboys out there, and there's still a lot of people that, you know, and it is.
Yeah,
it's
Cowboys get cancer just as easy as everyone else, though.
You know, and it is. It's like
Chinese put asbestos and everything. Yeah, I think they eat it in their Cheerios. They're
You know,
Chinese
and that's
Korean.
you know that's what I tell people a lot of times. I'm like, look, like, and then, like we feel there's a we are in the service industry and we are here to help people and make sure people are taken care of, and I get that. But sometimes we overstep our bounds as contractors in the hope or in the prayer, I'll say, that ensuring that there's no hiccups in the system. I don't know how many people I can
Oh,
think of.
trying not to make waves. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know how many people. Hell, I'm still bad about doing it. Where I put on my paperwork at the start, this loss was due to blank. It originated in this area. We've deemed the source to be a category 1, however, due to conditions, it's a category 2, blah, blah, blah. Like, we instinctively even try to, we try to go that step further and actually decide what the source of the loss is. But
Mm.
as contractors, it's not our job. I don't care if the sewer backed up or if it's a soft fog. Like, it makes it easier for me to sell the job, but I don't have, it's not my job. It's the plumber's job to identify the source and create a source of loss form filled out. And we try to do our best to cover that as basis because we hope that we're going to get ourselves paid. And, it's one of those things where I think a lot of people still have that old school mentality of, we need the insurance to pay for it because the homeowner wouldn't have hired us if the insurance wasn't going to pay for it. And
Mm.
just like everything else in the world, I mean, if I go to the hospital, I'm fully expecting to get a bill. I might fight it still and try to minimize it and work it out somehow, but I know the insurance ain't going to pay for the whole thing. But people instinctively think, oh, well, I'm only going to have you file a claim with me if my insurance covers it because I don't have the money. Well, that's the problem with being a homeowner is you have unexpected expenses, and
Yeah,
you know,
that's a hard no for me, right? If that's the first thing I hear when I come on site as a contractor trying to provide a service, well, I'm not paying for any of this if the insurance company's not going to cover it. Well,
Mhm.
I can't control your insurance company, so good luck. I'm going to go. I'll see you later.
but
Yep.
I think
It's a
one of the
red flag.
problems is that and I think so many people are work in a metropolitan area where the market is, I mean, effectively it's a dog eat dog flooded marketplace where they can't afford to miss out on a job because they need every job matters. I mean, I would easily say that 70% if not more restoration companies s- are 30-day operate on a 30 days and my doors are shut mentality. Like they can't
Mm.
survive very long. They don't have that backlog of savings and setup that people think of like I could operate for a while on it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so,
there's cash flow is cash flow is the number one killer of all businesses, but especially restoration contractors.
which is crazy when you think about the margins of being, for a water job, reconstructions, it's 30 to 40%. Those are tight margins. But when you're doing water, it's, most people, if you're not operating in the 60% profit margin, you're probably not billing it enough, or you're probably not
You need to
doing your
hire
work.
Joe or Andy to do your estimates.
I
Yeah,
mean,
there's a
and
solution.
if contents runs at 70 to 80% profit. Like
But
there's very
but
little overhead in it. And these people, but yet
but Joe,
somehow,
that margin assumes collection, right? For every week that bill goes unpaid, that margin goes down because that money costs money. You've already paid. You've outlaid your costs. You've outlaid all this money to get the job done. And if you're not paid within 150 days, there's no profit left
well,
in
and
that
that's
money.
the problem is that we as an insurance, as an industry here for insurance work, we don't have any real way to, like, if I go to the car lot, if I go to the mechanics, pay me my money, you get your car, or I'm keeping your car until you pay me my money. End of story.
Yeah, I
If I'm
got your
doing
key.
contents, if I'm doing my contents, I'm not turning your contents over to you until I get paid. End of story. But
There's
with
guys that got in
water,
trouble for that, but I still would advocate for it.
but with water damage, I've done the job. You're I you know I mean, I want paid, but there ain't nothing you can use to hold over the coals, so to speak, to
Mhm.
ensure you get paid on it. And that's why I'm a big fan of, hey, Mr. Homeowner, let's do financing. You are going to pay me the second
Yeah,
I'm done. I'm going to get paid by the finance company, and you're getting reimbursed. It's not my job to be reimbursed by your insurance company. It's your job to
exactly
be
right.
reimbursed.
Abby,
And
you had something on that one?
Um, so I was gonna say that I feel like when and I didn't realize this at first when we started either, but absolutely 100% of everything that has to do with water mitigation, from the time you walk in the door to the work that's completed to the collection process, is a full circle job. There's absolutely everything builds upon each other. And if you don't realize that, then you're missing the big picture. So
great point.
it's, you know, you can go out, you can do the job, you can work the job, you can have the money out there all day long, but if you're not collecting on it, then you're not a profitable business. And the collections part of your job is just as important as the person who's walking into that door to sell that job,
if not more
a lot
important.
of people do not remember that. They go out, they get the job, they do the job, and then the collection part is on the back burner. And I would probably say that the collection part is the most headache of the part of the business.
Really is.
But it is one of the most important parts of the business. And if you don't have the collections and you can't collect the money, what is the point in working? What's the
And
point?
that's where RIB is here to help you at. I get my free plug finally. Thank you.
There it is. There it is.
Seriously, and I mean seriously, guys. Like, I mean, she's absolutely right. I mean, you know, I mean, Robert, since you're one of the actual in Abby, would you agree that you would say on average a water mitigation is probably going to be about between $6,000 and $9,000 on average?
Yep.
I'm sorry, I missed the question. What'd you say?
6 and 9 water damage, 6 to 9,000.
An average water damage
average.
is going to be between $6,000 to $9,000 on average.
Yeah, I think our average is between 6 to 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what is your guys'? Would you say your give back rate is? Would you, like, how much between submission and getting paid?
Oh,
like, how much of a hit do you guys take? Would you guys say more than 10%, less than 10%?
So
20%?
I'm kind of a hard ass when it comes to that. But I try to negotiate no more than 10%.
You don't negotiate. You're not an adjuster. You defend your scope of work.
So I try. I hardball it all the way. But you know, when it comes down to trying to get it paid by the homeowner, there's some give and take there. For me, that's just the way I do it. If it's anything over a comfortable amount for me, the homeowner is going to pay it 100%. And if they don't pay it, then a lien gets filed on their home. I mean, I'm pretty strict about what our collection process is. I think right now, because I have a few stragglers out there, I think my average days to pay from January until now is like 35 days.
And that's super low.
That's good. Yeah.
That's super low.
Yeah, between 35 and 40 days. So it's a super important part to me of the business, and it all just it's a huge circle, right? Like you can't keep going without one section of it, or your circle becomes a square and then it doesn't roll. So
damn. All right, I like that.
That's just been my big thing. As far as the third-eyed Jedi guys, how much time do you guys spend on collection?
As much as it takes.
I've got a process where when we submit everything to the insurance company, the homeowner gets a letter and it says, hey, we've submitted all these documents to the insurance company, but reminder, if they don't pay, then you're responsible for the bill. That goes out the same or the next day after we send everything to the insurance company. Then I penned their name for about 3 weeks because that's getting near the 30-day mark. And then I send what I call a pre-collection letter that states, hey, it's nearing 30 days from the time that we sent this bill off. And you might want to give your insurance company a call because we haven't heard anything from them. So it gets them involved in the collection process.
For sure.
And then after that, then I go to a collection letter. I penned it for another 2 weeks.
Have you? Did you read this book? Did you get that from this book?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I made it myself.
It's almost exactly what Mr. Cross advocates for. You're playing. You're writing his playbook. I like that. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
And guys, like, I mean, the numbers and stuff, like, if you're doing things correctly, and like Abby said, it's a full circle. If you're starting on day one, doing the documentation and validating those charges, if you're covering yourself and providing all the information, you can get great success. I mean, I will tell you for where I'm at, like right now, our average age for an open invoice is 43 days. And we
Mhm.
have, which is a little over 30 days. I'm not a big fan of that number. But what I can also tell you is that from last week's average for water damages, we wrote 96 files, and the last week's average was $13,000 a water job. This
Mm.
week so far, we've wrote 60 water files. Our average is currently at $12,000 a water job.
Mhm.
And when I look at our company's give back rates, how much? Right, last week it was 8.34%. This week it's
Mm.
10.41%. We're less than 12% between what the estimators write and think they can justify
What are
and what we
you?
paid on.
What are you giving back? Is there a theme?
I mean, it depends a lot of times, depending on contractors. Some contractors want to try to charge monitoring round trip, but every company operates from a portal to portal basis. So Andy's going to go visit Robert's house today. He's not going to go back to the shop. He's going to go on to Abby's house next. So you can't, you don't charge round trip. Technically speaking, at the end of the day,
Oh,
you figure
so
out how many.
they're essentially just plugging the numbers. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
or
Okay.
maybe, sometimes
Okay.
it is, sometimes it's errors. Everyone gets errors. I had a
Yeah.
$600 error where I put in there to remove a fiberglass shower and I accidentally put it as replace. It was a $600 error on my part, and I accept that. But a vast majority of the reasons why we at my company can't get people paid is not because of anything we've done or because the adjusters are being just a hard ass for the most part. It's because the documentation to validate that X, Y, and Z were done don't
Mhm.
happen. Just like
Mhm.
how people, oh, well, we don't monitor over the weekend. So you want me to pay you for Saturday and Sunday, and then on Monday it's dry. How do I know it really needed to be out there Saturday and Sunday both? How do I know it wasn't dry on Saturday?
Yeah.
That's why
Documentation.
it's
Yep.
documentation is the key of the game
That's why.
and
Yeah,
Mhm.
we've instituted an RFI process at Quick Check. I promise you, this is not an advertisement. But if we get a file and we're like, okay, we know what they want us to write, we know what they want the sheet to look like, but there's not enough documentation. We'll just do a request for information, and we won't do any work on that file until we have that information. We just kick it back to the customer. Hey, we cannot. We're not going to make this up for you.
well,
We're
that's
not
like
going to.
today I had
We're
a
not a
contract.
creative writing house.
Mhm.
Do you know? I mean, I hate saying it, but I have to do that a lot as for people. Like I had a job today
Yeah.
where the hallway, the bedroom, the 4 bedrooms, the 2 bathrooms, the hallway, and the living room were all sketched out, but the text didn't sketch out the kitchen. So what did I have to do? I had to look at the photographs and know from my experience, a fridge is 3 foot wide, a sink base is 3 foot wide, a stove's 2 foot 6, and I can count the squares of tiles, and I can actually extrapolate out the numbers there, and I had to finish the file out and stuff. But it's stuff like that there's a lot of people out there that don't appreciate the fact that they need to, be able to prove that they did something. The amount of times
Hmm.
I've seen people not show that they were wet wiping or HEPA vacuuming, and then they're like, "Well, why didn't you get paid on that?" Because I don't know for a fact you did it. Like,
Yep.
I'm not going to pay for something I don't know you did.
The way
I
that
go ahead,
I've
Abby.
sorry, the way that I've trained my estimate writer and have worked with the guys in our field is look at it as a court document, because more than likely it could go to court.
Well, yeah,
and
act
I'm
as if
not
everything you do is going to be presented to a jury.
right, and everything that you do and you send off has to be justifiable, and it has to have a picture to prove that it was there or documentation to prove that it was there. And if you can't, if my estimate writer cannot get the documentation or prove that it was done, even if they did it, I can't bill for it. So
Mhm.
when that bill goes to the insurance company, and I review them before they get sent off, but if they go to the insurance company, it comes down to, I know that absolutely every single charge on that invoice I
It's
can
valid.
fight tooth and absolutely nail for. And
Right.
if you're sending invoices off with other information on there that you cannot do that for, then you're opening yourself up for a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah. You really
And
are.
it
I
is, and I mean, it's why companies like me and like Andy are becoming so mainstream right now, is
Yeah.
because I mean, everybody already outsources their payroll. Everybody already outsources their HR departments, it feels like. But, a lot of people are always very nervous about, they don't mind outsourcing, maybe the estimate writing process, but they think they need to keep in-house the arguing or the defending of it. And I think as time goes on and as the insurance companies become more of a fight with everybody, you're going to see companies like me and Andy that just grow and prosper because we're taking that burden and letting you guys focus on your
Yeah.
business, on
But we're
getting
not
that.
we're not gonna pick up that burden if there's not documentation backing it up.
Mhm.
Like, we just can't, because that, yeah, the first time we do that, we're gonna lose all credibility, and it's gonna affect our efforts from every claim going forward.
And I mean,
It's
I've never
it's
had a problem
unreal.
telling a client they're doing something. I had a client where literally they said a dehumidifier in a bathroom for 7 days. And they went out there. It was like an hour drive there, and they wanted me to charge 1 hour every day for two people because they always send two people out there. And I'm like, look, that's like I can understand you want two people out there when you're pulling the equipment because of weight and stuff. That's fine.
Sure.
And I can also understand that maybe your overall process is we don't send two people or one person by themselves to a job for safety issues. That's fine, but you cannot. You got if you're sending two people out there, they need to be quick about it then, because you can't justify two people for 2.5 hours 7 days in a row to monitor a single
One
dehumidifier.
DU. One DU.
Or
Yeah.
document
And
Yeah.
with safety. There's absolutely nothing wrong with stating, take a picture of the area that you're driving to. Would
Sure.
you send one guy
Mhm.
out there? I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with documenting that stuff.
Yeah.
And the more you document, I mean, what are they going to say when it comes
I
down
s
to a court situation?
I spent, Monday, Tuesday, in front of a panel of arbitrators. It was a contract dispute, so we got sent to arbitration instead of trial or something like that. It was essentially before someone decided to sue someone else, he went to arbitration. And this contractor spent 2 days, the better part of 2 days, trying to convince these arbitrators that they had done $250,000 worth of work, and that the client, which I was representing the building owner as an expert witness in this case, they were trying to represent that they did $250,000 worth of work, and at the end of the day, they had no proof of the work that was done except for what we could see in the building. Like, we could see, okay, we could see where there was some framing done there. We could see what was done there. We could see that roof that was done, but guess what? The building owner had to redo that roof when you guys were kicked off the job because you did such a shitty job. But yeah, it was just like they had no documentation except for they came with time sheets for 1,900 hours of labor. And they were trying to say, well, since we have 1,900 hours logged to this job, you owe us this money. I was like, no, you didn't provide any value. Just because you incurred 1,900 hours doesn't mean you actually provided any value at all to the building owner.
if you're
I
doing
haven't
large
I haven't
loss,
heard the
like
results yet, but
and that's one thing. Like back when I did large loss, I had a boss who they would make you check in at the first start of the day and check in at the end of the day, and that was the only logging information they did on their time cards. And
mm,
I got there and I was like, no, like each unit of the apartment complex has their own specific log, and if you're working on this unit, You check in on that unit for the day, and that way there, if someone says, well, what all happened on the 28th? I can say, well, I had these 4 people in this unit here. I had these people over in this unit here. Like, you have to take a little bit of a, cover your ass. And
there's no good excuse left anymore. Company cam. You put company cam in everyone's hands, and they're an apartment. They're at this address. They're taking pictures. They're taking notes.
And
it is
fleet
so
tracking.
easy. Say that again.
Fleet tracking.
There is no excuse for no documentation anymore. The technology is cheap and easy to use. Oh, speaking of cheap
and effectively,
easy to
that's
use,
what you pay these people
I
to
got
do.
a new toy today.
You got a new protometer?
Well, I'm not supposed to talk about it. It's a little bit like Fight Club. So I'm not going to really talk about
That's a
it.
Discord conversation.
I was gonna say, does it need to be in the other
Discord conversation? So our friends over at Protometer sent me this. So I'm just going to show it to you. It's the newest version. You cannot buy this yet. You can't buy it, so that's why I can't talk about it. But it's got an app and it's got Bluetooth.
That's nice.
How cool is that? I'm gonna try it out tomorrow. I cannot wait. But again, if so this I'm gonna go back to this arbitration I was in. They said they did a whole bunch of mold work and a whole bunch of drying. Not one moisture point was logged.
Mm-hmm.
No mold testing was done, pre or post. No containment was set up that anyone could prove.
No photos.
But no, there were photos, but not of the drying process. There were photos of some other stuff. But I mean, if you got a meter with a Bluetooth app, it's just like that point there. Click. It's now that point is documented forever. This was wet when we were here. How do you know it was wet? Because my meter is on that spot. It's just like it's ridiculously easy to document losses these days, and nothing pisses me off more than the people that just say, well, I don't have to do that.
Well,
yeah,
bad document. I mean, I'm a firm believer. Bad documentation is just as dangerous as no documentation.
Amen.
I mean, like, I don't know how many times I've lost arguments on like PPE because we sent over 100 photographs, because some people want to think, oh, well, I'll just overload them with photos and all. But then they see a picture
they're irrelevant as fuck.
But they see a picture of Bobby's arm and he's got a nitrate glove on, but you see his skin here, and all of a sudden it's like, well, prove to me now that you actually wore PPE, because right here I can tell you didn't wear PPE in this one photo.
On that arm.
It's that kind of a mentality that water techs. I mean, what sucks the most about our industry is that it's ass backwards in the sense that the people that are the most important step in our process, the technicians and the field laborers, are the people that have the least amount of experience. They're paid usually the least amount, and they have the least amount to lose if the job doesn't go the way it's supposed to.
Yeah,
and that's why I've always been a big supporter of profit sharing or commission-based employees where their pay is directly tied in, because when I'm an hourly person, does it matter to me if you got paid? No, I still get paid hourly. If I'm commissioned, you didn't get paid on it means I didn't get paid on it. That's a problem. And
Simon Sinek, I don't think it's not as in his book Start With Why. It's in one of his other books, but he I can't remember. It's probably on the shelf over here. But he related it like that person. So that water tech has all the responsibility, but none of the authority, right? And that's backwards. If they're going to be in the position that they are in, like they are the face of your company. They are boots on the ground, day one, day zero. They better have the authority. You better give them the authority to make the calls they have to make. Because if they don't have the authority to make that call, what good are they? But you're going to blame them when something goes wrong, but you didn't give them the authority to make a judgment call in the moment. Well, and to your point, Joe, most of them are not paid well enough.
Well,
to
that's
do
the
it.
point. That's the thing that I try to tell everybody when I talk to
Oh,
them is like,
well, Third Eye Jedi, you just hit it right there. Look at that. Yeah, that's 100%. 100%.
I mean, I was never paid minimum wage to suck up poop. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's one of those situations where, if there's no incentive for me to carry in that extra air mover. I'm tired as shit. There's no incentive. People are like, well, and the reason why water techs are some of the biggest turnovers is because we run them fucking ragged. We run them and run them and run them, and then, oh, you guys are out to 2 and 3 in the morning. You're still expected to be at work at 8 a.m.
Yep.
If you're commission based, guess what? It don't matter what time you come in. You're getting paid by the job, and if you come in late, you can have a huge staff. You can have double your staff labor force, so that people actually have a good work-life balance, and people still make good money when you base it off of the job itself and not an hourly basis. And I mean, my water techs when I was at my last company with commission, if they lost out on 20-30 bucks on a job, not a big deal. Second, that a job where because we would pay them their commission up front when the file got submitted to the insurance company, and then once the negotiations happened and it came back whatever the deduction was, they would get that they would have that held back from their following check to balance the book. If they got a paycheck and it said, hey, you got deducted 20-30 bucks here or there, usually they weren't that upset about it. As soon as they saw one job had a deduction of 50-60 bucks, they were in the office. Why didn't we get? Well, you guys didn't show me that you guys had PPE on, or you guys didn't. You better believe those issues disappeared overnight.
Yes, they
you
did.
Better believe they were.
That problem disappears because they're properly incentivized.
Field too, because to work on only commission, the person has
it was a base plus, wasn't it, Joe? It wasn't straight commission.
Well, for Roto-Rooter, they only
interesting.
With Roto-Rooter, they only did water and they only did mold. They did nothing else. So you were paid minimum wage to cover your on call. You got minimum wage, but or as a lead tech, you got 7%. As a helper, you got 5% of the job. And as soon as you got over minimum wage, that was your paycheck. And I had some people that they'd only do as soon as they made 800 bucks. I'm done. I don't want to work anymore this week, and they'd call out. And then I had other guys that would literally work themselves
every single job.
The best part about
they have to be money driven. If they're not money driven, and
the best part about it was the biggest issue people have on call and after hours disappeared overnight because nobody wanted to come in at 8 o'clock in the morning for some normal job. They'd rather do the on-call after hours. They were fighting over after hours and complaining about coming in.
And the extra money.
And it also, I mean, you can say this, you can take this piece however you want to take it. Hey, Mr. Homeowner, I know we were at your house at 9 or 10 o'clock or 10, 11 o'clock at night last night. Do you want us back here bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at 8 a.m. or would you rather us come around noon, 1 o'clock and also you can get some sleep? Oh yeah, come around 1 or 2. Now, hey, I've worked for 4 hours and I'm back into after-hour rates again. They were playing that game hard, but they had they would get the homeowner sign off. Yeah, I don't want you to come back at this time here to cover.
But it all came full circle because if ultimately it wasn't collected, they didn't get the benefit of that, right? It was taken back. So, that's a great scenario. I think it's a great motivating.
I mean,
Abby, what would you do?
Making 6 figures.
Abby, what would you do? Right, I think every water tech, proper water tech that has a good work ethic should make more than $100,000 a year. So, but Abby, you said if they're motivated by money. So what if they're not? What do you do? How do you motivate somebody who's not motivated by money?
That's hard. But I feel like that is become more common with the generation that we're dealing with.
Right.
And in my area specifically, there's a lot of military personnel that are already getting retirement payment or leave payment.
Their overhead is really low.
Yeah. So our we have plumbing company too. So our plumbing company, the plumbers are strictly commission. But we've noticed, with hiring, even just for the plumbers, that if they are not driven by money, it doesn't work. It doesn't work out. And so it's kind of for us, and it's probably different in different demographics. I think the culture of where you live plays a big part in that. I think generation plays a big part in that. But what we have seen is that, and what we've noticed, is for somebody to do well on commission, their ultimate goal or their ultimate drive needs to be the money aspect. Otherwise, they're not going to make what they need to make if they're not driven by money.
Well, and I'll agree with that there. And I mean, it would have, like I said, we'd have people back then, which, I mean, this was 5 years ago now that I worked at Roto-Rooter. I mean, we were averaging $6,000 a water job on average. So, and if you're a lead tech making 7% on $6,000 at 7%, you would make $420 on that job. I had guys that only wanted to do one or two, maybe a third job each week. And that's all they wanted to do, because they'd make $800-900. They're done. They're clocked out. But then, but you need those guys to do those smaller jobs and everything, but then you would find out which of those guys, they were hungry and they wanted to do 5-6 jobs.
What would happen in an all hands scenario, all hands on deck? Like, we got a hold of a big one. Would Roto-Rooter turn that down, or would they try to do that work?
I mean, we would take as much work as we could and all, but Roto-Rooter was such a corporate staff, like, that you can't. I mean, it depended on the stuff. I mean, the managers would sometimes, pop out, but they would pop in and help out at times. We would take as many as we could, and back. Hey, we'll be back tomorrow or whatever. But I mean, we had it because we did $4 million a year. We were running 6 crews, and on average, 4 of the 6 crews were on the schedule each day, and then we would rotate through people. I mean, but it's a different environment when you're on a commission base, because they weren't expected to be at the office at 8 a.m. They would sit at home and do whatever. And if they were on call, they knew, hey, if a call comes in, I have 2 hours to get to the office, get my truck, and to be on the job site. So, but they wouldn't have, there was no hang out the shop and clean equipment and find busy work or something.
I don't know that you could do. I don't think you could do large loss and with that model.
No, you can't do large loss.
Large loss takes different gear set.
But doing a salary base, like, giving somebody, I don't know, say $20, $22 an hour plus 1% or 0.5% or something of the loss, where, they're still getting their hours in, but they're also getting some, stuff like those do usually work in a lot of aspects.
I could see a salary, it's a base plus, and even 5% of every mitt that I would work, man, that'd motivate the hell out of me.
At 5% on a $6,000 loss, that's $300. You can literally say, if I do 3 jobs this week, I'm making $900.
How many texts do you guys have, Abby?
Forest through the trees. Right now we're running on a skeleton crew. I got two guys.
Okay. It is a skeleton crew.
We had like 2 or 3. We had between 2 to 3 guys last year. We did a little over $1 million. But it's definitely been a struggle with the retention. And I don't know what type of place Joe worked at for Roto-Rooter, but there's different type of entities with Roto-Rooter as far as how they're managed and ran.
I was at a corporate office.
Yes.
Not a satellite or a franchise.
Right. So there's franchises, and then they've also added like contractor locations, which is even different than a franchise location, which is what we do. So it's definitely a different ball game. our overhead is absolutely huge with that. So that plays into a big factor of it. But I mean, it's something that we've gone back and forth with, commission based versus hourly versus, but there's a lot of people, especially in that type of field that we've seen, that when you offer that, can't see the forest for the trees because they can't see the potential of what's
Right.
there,
Yep.
and so that kind of throws people off.
Yeah.
Well, and I
What
mean,
about
that's the
you,
thing.
Rob? How many crews you running?
I have 4 full-time and 1 part-time. The part-time is pretty much as needed.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because the way
It's
we
a-
did it, like I said,
it's
I
a
mean, we
surfer?
did.
What's
I
that?
mean, because if go ahead.
He's just a surfer. He's just like, oh,
Oh, no, he has a
no,
he has
bro, I can't work today, bro.
Yeah, no, he works at the pineapple field, actually the gold pineapple, and he's the chemical sprays all the thing. But like some days it's rained out, and he's like, "Hey, you got to work today," or like he can do his job in 4 days. So like he'd rather come work for us, make more money per hour, than to work 5 days there.
I will let everybody know that's listening and stuff. The only 2 downfalls that were in our system that annoyed the living crap out of me was, okay, so it was 7% for the lead. If they had WTR ASD, the helper got 5. If he didn't, he only got 4%. But they had a total of 12% total they could work in. Well, that's all Roto-Rooter would give the field people, 12%. So if I needed to have a third person out there, then I, as a
You had
lead,
to
might
split
only
it.
take 5%, and the helpers, each of them might only get 4% or whatever. We had to figure it out between ourselves, which sucked a lot because there's been times where I would love to just gotten a bunch of temp people out to a job and knocked it out real quick, but they couldn't do that because because any outside labor did not count towards your commission. If I had to get a dumpster and it's $300, we would take $600 off the bill that they're going to get paid off of because outside labor didn't count. So you better believe our guys were all about bringing the trash back to the office, and we'll make multiple trips. Not a big deal. The only other aspect of it
they're watching the costs. I like it.
But the only other aspect of it that sucked was to figure out your vacation rate, to figure out your meeting rate. When you had to come in for a staff meeting or a training scenario, you can't, since that's a non-commissionable thing, you had to pay them their hourly equivalent. And we did it it was a rolling 13-week basis on, what's your hourly rate based off of last 13 weeks at 40 hours. And we could not have long water tech meetings and staff meetings because some of our
they got
techs,
expensive.
most of our techs were averaging about $34 an hour, but I had a couple of guys that were like
35
$80,
bucks an hour to come to this
they
meeting.
they were like getting paid $80, $90 an hour to come to the meeting. And it was like, ooh, like, Joe, don't
Hey,
run
we
your
have
mouth.
a meeting tomorrow.
They're like cha-ching.
Well, and they always complained about it because it was a rolling 13-week average. It was really hard to schedule vacation time because, if I schedule as of today, if I schedule it for June, currently my vacation rate's $65 an hour. But come June, end of May, we've been slow. My vacation rate dropped down to $34 an hour, and it's like, damn, so they had to
figuring out the PTO must have been a nightmare.
It is.
I didn't.
You have to do that for plumbers. It's a pain.
Yeah, big time. Now, Abby, you guys doing one-time plumber? Is that what you guys doing?
We do plumbing and what mitigation.
Okay, but not franchise.
No, we're a contractor.
Okay.
Location, DBA company. It's similar to franchise, but there's different stipulations, and we don't have a lot of the rules and regulations, I guess, that a franchise would. Independently owned and operated, so we kind of have a little more freedom there.
Nice.
But the royalties that we pay are pretty steep. We're still very profitable for what it is, but at the same time, that plays a big factor into what we can and can't do with expenses, payroll, things like that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, one of the other retention issues with water techs is simply that, you might need 6-8 water tech crews, but you're only probably going to need 2 or 3 project managers or estimators. And a lot of water techs will get, after about 2 or 3 years of doing it, not only are they burnt out, but they start feeling dissatisfied because they don't feel like there is ever going to be a way to get up that ladder. So their only
Yeah.
option is to find somebody else to work for that might pay them more money.
Might
Yep.
pay a little
And,
more.
you know,
They'll leave for $1. Yeah,
Mhm.
they'll leave for $1.
I actually back in the day, like when I was, this was 15, 20 years ago almost, I was working at a company making like $15 an hour, and Belfort hit me up and they offered me 18. And I came to my boss at the time and I was like, look, I really don't want to leave, but that's a $3 raise. I was like, I'd stay if you guys would meet me in the middle at, $17 or whatever. Or I think it was like 17 is what I said and all. And they were like, no, they're like, go ahead, go take that job. You'll be back. Like they didn't want to let go of the money. Like there's
And
a
you
lot of
never came back.
Oh, I did not. No, I did not. But but it is.
There's companies out there that are just like that. Like I'm not going to use any names or anything else, but I knew a company where no benefits to their employees, no paid holidays, no weeks of vacation. Some of the guys been there a couple of years. I was like, dude, you should pay that. I know, and he's just like unwilling to, and the profits was huge, what he was making, and just like you're talking about like $40,000 a year to help your guys out. Like it's a no brainer,
Yeah, it is a no brainer. Those are the easiest checks to write.
There's still tons of companies out there that they don't give their people any premium for like PPE suit time. Like when I was growing up in the industry, like I got paid automatically time and a half if I had to be in a Tyvek suit because it's harder on my body and we were charging more for it. But it is. If you're wanting to be profitable, like I said, not only is it important to make sure your techs are being paid for and stuff, but it's also important like that your people, if you're the owner or you're a manager, talk to the owner and get permission. Like you need to show that you appreciate the people and all the ass kicking that they do all day long. Like
the money doesn't get made without the crew in the field.
I was notorious. Like if I was going out to a job site, I'd swing by the gas station and I knew what everyone drunk usually, and I'd pick them up, a Gatorade, some Gatorades or some energy drinks or whatever. Or hey guys, once a month or so, I'd randomly pick a crew and I'd say, come on guys, we're going to go to lunch. And I'd take them out to like an Applebee's for lunch and let them take a nice extended, hour and a half lunch instead and all. And, say, look, like you guys are kicking your ass and you guys are not with your family. And I get that and it sucks, but yeah, I want you to know, I do appreciate how hard you work for me and all. And there's a lot of companies that think that the only thing they need to do is maybe once a year have a little company get together cookout at the office, or their bonuses will be enough to keep them happy. And it's not. Like you've got to show your appreciation if you want them to work hard for you.
I agree.
Yep.
100%.
There's been times where if our guys are on jobs all day long or whatever, I order pizza and have it delivered to the house they're working at for lunch.
100%.
And that works in two fashions. I used to love ordering food and bringing it to them because the texts were like, oh my God, Joe's great. We don't have to spend money. He's buying us food. This is awesome. But in my mentality, it's like, yeah, but you're also not leaving the job site. So when it's time to go back to work, I don't got to worry about, we had to stop at the gas station because Bobby had to take a poop, or or we got held up at a red light or something. No, y'all are here on site. Like, especially on large losses. If I got more than say 8 people on a job site,
no, we're feeding them.
We're feeding them every time because I don't need to worry about them scraggling in at random times.
100%. All right, we're gonna end on that note. Everyone, go hug your water tech tomorrow. Okay, just.
I didn't get to show. We didn't get to go over the exact thing we talked about. We'll have to do that next time.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Wednesdays, 5:30 p.m. I'll try to be a little bit more proactive about getting that notification out there. But Rob, Abby, Joe, great to see you guys. See you next week.
If you guys need help with your files, Andy and me can help you.
Yes, we can.
Shameless plug for Andy. There you go.